everyone. It's me, Miss Mandy from the Braddock Carnegie Library, and my dog Meatball and I are back today with another Let's Make Something project. So hopefully you have everything you need to do this. If not, you can just watch today and then figure out what you would like to plant later on and come back and revisit the video. Or if you're ready to do this along with me, you're welcome to join me. Meatball is gonna probably just sleep here because that's what she does. So today, because it's spring, even though it hasn't really felt much like spring lately, it is spring. And it's time to start planting seeds. Why would we plant seeds? Flowers are nice to have. It's also great to be able to plant vegetables. Like, it's really cool to go to your backyard and pick dinner. It's super fun to do that. And what we can do right now is we can start some seeds, meaning we have some dirt, we have some soil, and we have some seeds here, and we can plant them and get them started in the house. And then I would say probably around Memorial Day weekend is when you could plant them in your garden if you wanted to. In Western Pennsylvania, the rule of thumb is usually like Memorial Day weekend for planting things, because after that, if we get frost, like frost will kill the plant, right? So if we get any frost after that, it's very, very unusual. So that is what we will do for today. And we're gonna do a little experimentation as well. We're gonna try planting seeds in a couple different ways, and you're going to help me out at home. And next week when we do our next Make It project, which will not be seed planting, maybe we can take a look and see how these ones are doing in a week. And then we can check in the week after that and the week after that. And hopefully your seeds will be growing. So first of all, I have to thank Miss Allison at C.C. Mellor Memorial Library in Edgewood, because she did this at Edgewood probably like a month and a half ago, and she did an awesome job. So I need to give her a shout out and thank her for a lot of the ideas that she gave me that we'll be doing today too. So without further ado, what you'll need obviously are seeds. I have packets of seeds here. There's pumpkins, those are my favorite, but you need a ton of space for pumpkins. Obviously, you're not going to grow them in your house. You're not even going to grow them on your porch or on your balcony. They need to be in the ground, and they need a ton of space because they spread out. I also have zucchinis. Same deal with zucchinis. They don't need quite as much space as pumpkins, but they do need a lot of space. We've got tiny, tiny, tiny seeds. This is basil and this is oregano. These are the spices that go in spaghetti sauce and pizza sauce. And I find that I always need basil. So I think I'm going to plant some basil today. And then there's a hot salsa pepper blend, and there's all kinds of different hot peppers in here, which is kind of cool too. So you plant them and you're just not quite sure what you're going to get. It's a surprise. I love surprises like that. And then also what you can do is, if you have any beans or seeds, you know, you look at a big old bean pod, and inside this is what you've got. These are Great Northern beans. You can make all kinds of yummy things with them, but I'm going to pull out a couple of those and plant them, and we'll see what happens. That'll be kind of cool. So if you have any kind of like soup mixes or things like that, you'll find dried beans in them. Green beans are good. Green beans are also really cool to watch grow because they grow really fast, and they have this root system that you can see. One of the ways that we're going to plant, the first way we're going to plant some seeds, is in a plastic baggie. And with this plastic baggie, we're going to create basically like a little miniature greenhouse, and we'll experiment growing a couple seeds in here and then a couple of the same ones in potting soil, and we'll see what happens. Now, if you want to get more than one of these and try maybe putting this in a really sunny place in your house or someplace that has a little bit more shade, you can try that. You can experiment with them and see what difference heat or sunlight makes, because some plants really do much better in shade than they do in sunlight. And it'll tell you on the back of your seed packet too. So on the back of your seed packet, there's a map of the United States. And it's kind of hard to see, but it will tell you, it's color-coded, when you can plant the seeds in the ground outside. And for us, it's like May, June. So, right around now, maybe in a few weeks after it's warmed up a little bit more, is like the perfect time to plant a lot of seeds in your garden. What we're going to do today, we're going to plant some seeds that we will start in one place, and then once they get bigger, and hopefully they will, we will have to transplant them from whatever we're planting them in into the ground or into a bigger container. I grew up out in the country where everybody had really big yards, and you could have a really big vegetable garden, and you could grow lots of tomatoes, and there was plenty of room usually to grow pumpkins and stuff like that. But now I live in the city, and I have a yard and I can grow pumpkins, but I can really only plant like 1 or 2 seeds and cross my fingers and hope that they give me some pumpkins in the fall. What are good things to grow if you live in a city are things that grow up, so that you're not growing things that are going to go over to your neighbor's yard and through the fence and all kinds of things like that. And it's also a lot easier just to grow things that go up. You can have them on your deck, you can have them in your window lots of times. So that's some of the things that we're going to focus on today. And some things that grow up are beans, think Jack and the Beanstalk, and any kind of herbs, so your basil, oregano, things like that will grow up. Lavender smells so good. That grows up. Most flowers grow up. And I think that's what you see a lot of in the city. That's a lot of what I try to plant, just because I find that in a smaller garden space, it's just so much easier to keep up with and maintain and control than like a vine that goes all over your yard, and it can get kind of wild then. It looks wild. It looks like a wild jungle or something. So what we're going to start with now, I'm going to get a piece of paper towel. And I use Select-A-Size just because that's what I like. But if you have a whole paper towel, you can probably cut it in half. And what we're going to do is, like I said before, we'll start out with our bean seeds. And we are going to see how quickly they germinate. Now, usually things germinate pretty fast. Germination means that is the time when it goes from being like a little tough seed like that and kind of looks alive, like it sprouts and it gets leaves and all sorts of things like that. So typically your like basil and oregano, corn, peas, beans, they germinate or they come to life pretty quickly. So that's something that we want to look at because I want to hurry up and see this stuff grow. I'm really excited about that. So let's get this paper towel here. And I have a container here that's had mushrooms in it. I like to recycle. I think it's important to recycle. But to recycle, you can also repurpose and reuse things. So this was used for some mushrooms. I made really yummy spaghetti sauce with them a couple weeks ago. It was good. And now I'm going to reuse this container, not for putting mushrooms in, but for getting my paper towel wet in, because I'm not near a sink and I'm not outside. I'm in my house and I don't want to get water everywhere. So here, I got some water. And I'm going to get my towel kind of damp. You don't want to get it like super sopping wet. You can like squeeze any extra water out of it. And then we're going to open up our baggie. And you kind of open up your paper towel a little bit. And you want to make, I don't know, kind of like a nest to put this in. Just a little bit of a nest. And then lots of times when you plant a seed, it's okay to plant more than one, because even if you just want one plant and two grow up out of it, you can always transplant the one plant to another place. And sometimes seeds just don't take off. They just don't grow for whatever reason. And I've had that happen. So yeah, we'll try it and see what happens. So I'm going to put these two beans in our little damp paper towel nest in here. And kind of put it there in the middle. And we're going to flatten it out. I'm going to move this so maybe you can see a little bit better how we're going to flatten it. You don't want to squish it too much, but it should be flat. And then we'll seal it up. Now, basically, we've made a little greenhouse. And all the moisture, the water that's from this paper towel is going to build up alongside the inside of the plastic. And that's called condensation. And that is what makes it so hot and humid inside a greenhouse. So yeah, we've already planted two seeds. Easy peasy, right? What you can do is, I would use masking tape. Here I've got this fancy masking tape from my awesome friend Liz at WQED. Gave our library this, and it is so cool. It's like all these different colors. Masking tape tends to come off of things better than Scotch tape. I would definitely ask first before you tape anything to anything, okay? Don't tape stuff to something unless you're sure that that's okay. I'm going to take purple tape because I like purple. And I am going to tape this to my window. Behind me is actually a lot of sunshine, but it doesn't, like, it's hard to make a video in here with that because all you can see is the light. But that is where I'm going to tape my my seeds after I'm done talking to you, because this gets a lot of sunlight in here. And also, what if you planted corn and a whole bunch of different things and you weren't quite sure what you were looking at? You should mark it. So you should get a marker. You might need a little bit of help writing on here. This is a nice little bag. It's kind of hard to see, but it has a white mark on it already that lets you write on it. If that doesn't work, you can just get like a piece of tape and write on it, or if it's a Sharpie that you're using, it'll just stick. So we'll write the contents, and I'm writing Great Northern Bean. And today's date is 5, oh my goodness, what day is it? 12, it's my friend Peter's birthday, 5/12/2020. All right, so I am going to stick that in the window later when we're all done. And what you could do more than one of these. Maybe put one in your closet. Don't forget about it though, but put one in your closet and see what happens. You can put one of these in your window and see what happens. Maybe every few days, if you notice that it's drying out, maybe put just a couple tiny little drops of water in there and then seal it tight again and see what happens. Now that is our first one that we're doing. Now the second thing we're doing, this is another thing that's pretty cool that you can do with repurposing things. I love to find different uses for things. And it seems like every year when I buy a plant in a flat, I always end up putting it in the recycle bin, and then the next year I think, oh, I should have saved that so I could start seeds in it. Well, this year I thought ahead. And I saved like some of my mushroom packets or mushroom containers. This one was minute rice and quinoa. And this is an egg carton. And I think what we're going to do today is actually plant in the egg carton because I like doing this. What you can do with the egg carton later on is you can cut it apart and then just put it in the ground because this is like made with paper, so it's biodegradable, which is nice. And it will just kind of go back into the earth. Don't do this with a plastic one, and definitely don't do this with a styrofoam one. It needs to be a paper one. It's just better for the environment that way. Or if you wanted to do one in plastic, it's nice because these are squishy, and that will help you to sort of squish the dirt with the plant out of it when the time comes for you to transplant it. So the first thing we are going to do, I'm actually going to use this little container again to put some soil in. So here I've got some potting soil, and this is special dirt that's made just for planting seeds in pots. Flower seeds, whatever. And the bag that I had was really big, and I didn't want to bring it up here because I'm upstairs, and the bag was in the basement, and yeah. So I filled up a little bag with this. And what we're going to do now, this is really cool potting soil. It already has some things in it, like almost like vitamins for plants that they put in there to help it grow. One of the things that I like to do in my garden is I like to compost. So throughout the year, if I'm making salad and I'm cutting tomatoes and I cut the end of it off, or I eat a banana instead of like throwing the peel away or the end of a banana away, or like the end of cabbage or kale. Instead of throwing those away, I put them in my compost bin. And then when that's full, I take it out to this, it's like a big bucket, like an upside down bucket. It kind of looks like Darth Vader. Actually, I call my composter Darth Vader. It's this big black upside down bucket, and I put it in. And every now and then you got to give it a little stir. Every now and then you need to water it a little bit, add some dry leaves, or you can tear these things up and put them in there too. And then when I go to plant my garden, all of that stuff rots. It's really kind of smelly at first, but then it rots and it kind of turns into soil. It looks a lot like this when you take the shovel. There's a little door in the bottom and you shovel it out. And that is like the best plant food ever. Because there's all of those vitamins and different nutrients in all of that decomposing, decaying food waste that you would never eat, but it's still perfectly good to put back into nature. Don't put it in a landfill when you could grow awesome stuff with it in your garden, right? Right? Yes. So this is the potting soil. And you can see it's pretty, I don't know, floofy. It was much floofier. I added a little bit of water to it. But this is still too much water for what we need to do. Because I'm going to put some dirt in here. If I plant a seed in this, what do you think is going to happen if this is really light? Think back to like preschool and kindergarten when we did sink or float. Do you think this will sink or float if I put water in it? Or like what will happen to the seed if I just leave it like this? I think all of that, not all of it, but a lot of the dirt and stuff is going to float to the top, and the seed is going to end up someplace where we don't want it. Like it might end up on top on the other side of the container when we want it to be here. So what we need to do first is we need to add a little bit of water. Start with a little bit of water first. You can always add more soil if it's too muddy, and we're making mud, which is fun. Mud is fun. And you don't want it to be like, see it like, let me hold it up to like something dripping. You don't want it dripping like that. So we might have to add a little bit more soil because we do want it to be kind of like a little bit wet, but not soaking wet, like not like dripping wet. So we'll add a little bit more to that. And I think this is a good consistency now. So if it's too dry, you can always add more water. If it's too drippy wet, you can always add more soil. So I think the first thing I might do, I'm going to plant them in this egg carton. So I'm going to put some soil in here, in each. You don't have to do each and every one, but you can if you wanted to. You could try that. I think I'm just going to do a couple for now. Maybe 4 of them. I'll probably plant more of them later. Okay, so there we go. We've got 4 little egg cups with dirt in them. And now, we want to kind of tamp it down just a little bit. Don't pack it down, but just, a little. And you're going to take your finger, which is now, filthy dirty. And you look at the size of your seed. And this guy is probably about maybe like a ½ inch. You want to plant double the height of the seed. You can measure it on your finger. Might go down to like almost my knuckle, like that first little crease on your finger. Like, it's so awkward sometimes with the camera trying to show you what I mean. Like that. So go 1, 2, and you're down to like that little knuckle part. But that's my finger. Your fingers could be longer or shorter. Everybody's fingers are different. So I'm going to put a little hole in here, right about to there, and plop, drop the seed in. I'm going to cover it up lightly. There we go. There's one. I'm going to plant another one in here now. Again, take my finger, plop. Now we'll see. Maybe I'll plant a couple more since I have 4. Just planted 2 in there. There's another one. There we go. So now I have 4 things. And remember how we labeled our stuff before? If I had filled this up, there's a whole bunch of other things I would love to plant. But I don't want to get confused. So I think what I'll do, if you have popsicle sticks or any kind of stick, my friend at CC Meller had a great idea. You could write on like a plastic spoon or a plastic knife that you don't want to use anymore. She's a genius. I never even thought about that till I saw her do it. See all the things you can learn at your library? I know, right? So I am going to write Great Northern Bean, and then the date, 5/12. I know it's 2020. This will still be growing in a year, so the year is okay. And I'm just going to stick it in there. And now I know that those 4 from here down are beans. Easy enough? Another thing you can do, after you do this, you need to water these seeds because we need light, we need a sunny spot for them, and, but what else do they need to germinate, to grow? Water. This is another cool trick I learned that I never even thought about. Here's my water bottle. At first, it just looks like a regular water bottle, but I assure you it is much more. Because in the top of this water bottle, it's hard to see, but I poked a whole bunch of little holes in the top of it. So it looks like a shower head. And I did this with a thumbtack, which I don't want you to do. I want one of your grown-ups to do it, because it was actually really hard to do. Like, you really had to dig at it, and I don't want you to slip up and get hurt, because that would hurt so bad if you got yourself with a thumbtack. So what you can do with this is just give it a little squirt, and it looks like a shower head. And we just give it a little bit of water now and then. You can also use a spray bottle. And I loved this idea that my friend at Edgewood at CC Mellor had, because I don't have a squirt bottle right now. I don't know where it is. I think I took it to the library. Oops. That's okay. We'll use it there. So that's how I planted some beans in this. And hopefully they will start to come alive soon. And by then I will have cleared a space in my yard for, I need to like rip up all the grass and stuff. And there's a special machine called a rototiller. And it's almost like a really spiky rake on a wheel that just goes and it like rips up the ground, but it's really powerful and it's really sharp, and they are kind of dangerous to use. But I don't have one, and I have to find my friend who has one on a day that he has his truck, and it's complicated because I have way too much space in my yard to like dig it up myself. It's so much easier with a machine. But hopefully by then I will have it rototilled, and I can pop these out when the time comes. And when that time comes, I will dig a hole that's about this size, and I can either pop it out, or I can just cut along here and put it in the ground. But what happens first, the roots grow, and then we see the stem growing, and then we see it blossom, and I hope we see that happen. Another thing you can do, you can plant stuff in these. You would also need to poke some holes in the bottom of it, because when we water them, we don't want all the water to collect. It'll flood the plant. And then the plant will die if there's too much water. So have one of your grown-ups poke some holes in the bottom. Oh, Meatball, you're back. Hey, you want to come up here? Come on, baby. You want to come say hi? Again? We're planting seeds. Okay. Here we go. Come on, you can do it. Oh. Make sure, though, that whenever you plant something, whenever you plant something, remember how the water's going to run out of it, right? You need to have it on something. So you can put it in a container maybe that has a flat bottom, or on a plate, or something where it'll catch that water so that it doesn't drip all over like your windowsill or a table. This table is wood, so if I just let it sit on here, it would warp the wood and make my table kind of yucky. If you know that you're going to plant something that's just going to stay in a pot, you can get a flower pot, like I have in this. See you. Already has a hole on the bottom, and it comes with its own little plate that I can put on here. And again, I can take some of the potting soil that I prepared and put it in here. And then I'm going to have to mix up a little bit more because I'm out. But then I think I'm going to plant basil in this, and I'm going to put it in my kitchen window where it's also nice and sunny. And hopefully it'll grow, and I can just walk over to my window and pick basil whenever I want to make spaghetti sauce or something like that. So everything is just so much yummier when you make it yourself too. Like in the wintertime, sometimes you can freeze things that you pick from your garden in the fall, or you can do canning where you cook everything and you put it in a jar, and then you cook the jar in like a bath of hot water, and the seal on it goes and it seals. And then you open up those summer tomatoes in like February, and they just taste a bazillion times better than anything you would get in the store would that time of year. There's nothing like a good late summer tomato. So that is what we've got for today. I am going to tape this to my window now, and hopefully I'll have something to show you next week. Definitely, if you have any questions, you can email me at the library, mandy@thebcla.org, or you can just ask me a question in the comments section on Facebook. That works too. I'm always watching it. I'm always looking to see if anybody has any questions or comments. So you're welcome to do that. And that's it for today. I can't wait to see what all you plant. I'm going to plant some pumpkins for sure. And that is our Make It Day for today. It was great to see you again. As always, Meatball enjoys her stardom. And we'll see you next time. Bye.